And I gotta lock this camera down, it's not wandering. 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. Okay, you talk for a second.
All righty.
It's cranking.
We moved to Arlington Heights in the fall of 1960. I'm getting my dates all screwed up now.
Okay, it's all right.
In the fall of 1960.
Okay, here we go. Let me just focus. I think we're in focus. Looks good. All right, I'm going to sit down.
Go right ahead.
All right, here we go. So, we're here with Dr. Thomas Horrigan, who's been an Our Lady of Wayside parishioner since 1961, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And we just want to talk about the early days of Wayside, things that people today probably don't know that they might find interesting. And I know that you're a man of many stories, so we're going to let you just tell us about it. So maybe to kind of go back to the days where you first tell us about yourself.
Well, we came to Arlington. I had an opportunity to practice with a gentleman by the name of Vernon Bowman here in Arlington, because my wife was from Miami, Florida, and I was from Springfield, Illinois. And we were sort of wandering around. I really didn't care to go back to Springfield because we became urbanized. We really liked the suburbs, suburban living. And so we had this opportunity, and we came. I didn't even know where Arlington Heights was when I was up here going to take my residency. And lo and behold, after I got out, I had the opportunity, and we arrived here. It's been a fantastic journey.
So you came to Arlington Heights in 61, and you were a practicing orthodontist?
Yes.
Okay.
I joined a practicing orthodontist.
Gotcha.
I was just a kid out of residency.
Okay.
And we were able to believe it or not, rent a home on Dwyer Avenue, and we became part of the parish. At that time, the pastor was
It's okay.
Father
O'Hara.
O'Hara.
Yeah, we'll start fresh so I get a nice clean cut. So the pastor at that time was?
Father O'Hara.
Okay, you say it. You say the pastor
The pastor at that time was Father O'Hara. And he was quite a unique person. He was a very hard-working person, a very demanding person, and then sometimes he had a very grating personality, but boy, did he work hard. Before the parish, he was called down to Chancery and offered the opportunity to become a pastor out here, which really it was, and how they picked the location, I don't know. It was just a wheat field. All of this area was truck farming, and the farmers would ship their stuff into the city on the Chicago Northwestern, which ran through the middle of Arlington. And as the town started to grow, so did our parish. And I'll have to explain things a little later on about the growth. But we're all very young kids, just out of college, gung-ho, and ready to meet the world. And did we ever? It was a fantastic journey and experience.
Tell us about your first meeting with Father O'Hara. When you first came to the parish, do you remember meeting him for the first time?
Not really.
Okay. So tell us, you said he was a hard worker.
Yeah.
You know, can you give us a sense of what that means?
Well, for example, he would take the earliest mass always, so his associates could sleep in a little bit. And he taught in the school. He managed it. He had some construction background. I don't know what it was, but he knew how to take and arrange things and so on and so forth. I have a unique understanding because when the professional building I was in, there was an architect across the hall from me, in the suite across the hall from me. The name was Herman Gall, and their family designed and built an awful lot of churches in the area. So Herman, we would go out to lunch. He'd tell me some stories about Father O'Hara. He said nobody wanted to deal with him. He said he would take and he'd start with some figure. He said by the time you got done, you're perspiring and just want to get out of there and sign the contract and get going. But
what was Father like as Father O'Hara? What was he like as a priest? Was he committed to the faith?
Oh, was he committed to the faith? You better believe it.
Yeah.
He ran the show and he did it. I'm ahead of myself, but
okay.
I ended up on the school board, and I was elected chairman of the school board. So there was a period of time where so many people were coming in. We only had 2 parishes in town, St. James on the north side, and we were the south side parish. And the northwestern tracts separated the two. And I'll never forget when I was on the school board, he'd say, well, what are you going to do? And I'd tell him, he said, well, I think you really ought to do it this way. He'd ask you your opinion, but he'd never do anything about it. It was just sort of thrown in the trash can.
Yeah, when I did my research on Father O'Hara, as we've been celebrating 70, he seemed like a man that knew how to get things done, and he wasn't afraid to ask people to help. Is that a pretty good read?
Yes, very good read.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he didn't sit around chit-chatting. It was, we're going to do this and if you didn't agree with him, he changed it. It was his. If your idea, it became his, and he drove it.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about some of the parishioners back in the early days. I mean, you talked about being young, 30 years old, ready to go. Was that the general feel of the parish back then?
Yes, it was a very young parish. If you're sitting in the choir loft and looking down, you wouldn't see too many gray-haired people in the church. The other thing is that most of us, we were children of the World War II, and we believed in helping people and doing things, and we were doers. Everything was volunteer. For example, my dear wife volunteered 25 years for Hot Dog Day.
25 years.
25 years. And I was involved in the parish from the time we got here till after Father died.
Yeah.
We had some real characters. There was a group of us, and I don't know why, but it was George Miller, who is now no longer with us. There's Joe Foreman, who did an awful lot for this parish. He owned a business, and he knew how to get things done. He was a go-to guy for Father O'Hara. And there are many, many more.
Yeah. So I know you belong to a very prestigious group of those guys called the Sunshine Boys. Tell us about the Sunshine
When the
Boys.
Sunshine Boys came about, we always would have parties, and we'd decorate the gym so it looked nice. Well, then the gym, after the party was over, had to be cleaned up. And then sometimes we didn't clean it very rapidly. And there's always some beer around or something. And sometimes we didn't get out of there till the sun was coming up. So Barbara Curran, who was a teacher at the school and whose husband was in real estate, when he came home, he said, "Oh, the Sunshine Boys are here."
And the name stuck.
And the name stuck. And then it was carried on from then on. And then every Christmas, Sunshine Boy had a gathering, and all the priests were invited. It was almost like a reunion meeting. And we'd find out about how your children were doing and so on and so forth. It was a very nice organization, and anyone could join it. But a lot of people did.
A lot of doers.
There were a lot of doers in this group.
Yeah, yeah. It had to be because everything was new. There was no money. You put it all into the facilities, so you needed muscle.
Had to get it done.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys would give up their Saturdays to do things around the church. Other guys would be there at night. And he'd tap out. If he knew you were in a certain business, he'd tap you on the shoulder and said, "Come on in and help me." And boy, you better help him.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great story. So you raised 4 daughters in this parish?
With the help of my wife, Barbara.
Yeah. You and Barbara raised 4 daughters.
Yes, we did. We had 4 little girls. And all but one went through Wayside. We had a daughter unfortunately had a hearing disability, and as a Catholic school, we didn't have the money for the necessary things she needed. And thank goodness there was a group within the Arlington school system that would take care of handicapped children. And they had a program for the deaf people who had their hearing loss. And fortunately, my daughter was oral. She didn't need to sign. And they had a special school within the system named Gregory School, and that was designated for the hard of hearing people.
Gotcha.
And then they'd bus them over there and back. They had some wonderful teachers, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But going through Wayside was a very interesting experience, being the chairman of the school board. As I mentioned earlier, the town was just exploding, and with only the 2 parishes, there were only 2 schools, St. James and Our Lady of the Wayside. Well, Wayside was Father O'Hare. Some people couldn't get their children into St. James, and so they come to Father O'Hare, and he'd visit and said he'd never turned anybody down. And so here I was, chairman of the school board, and he called me up and said, "Doc, we got 14 more students coming in." I said, "Well, where are we going to put them?" He said, "You'll find a way. Well, God will help you." I said, "Please, God, help me a lot." And So I had to get on the stick, and I found out there were mobile classrooms that were available. So we rented 3 of them, and then we put them in behind the school. And they were in that area between the convent and the north wing of the school.
Yeah. In those days, the junior high wasn't built yet.
Junior
correct?
high wasn't there
So you had grades kindergarten
through 8th grade.
in what is today the middle school,
That's correct.
plus the mobile units. Do you remember how many students you had back then?
At one time, I know there was 1,400.
It's incredible. 1,400 students.
And of course, people, it was a very transit community too. People would move in and out. And so somebody might move in with 5 children, and somebody with only 2 children would leave. So here we are with this discrepancy, and how are we going to? And Father O'Hare taught religion to every class. We had some wonderful ladies that were Dominican nuns that he had found. They came up from Kentucky. And then when I had these extra 14 students, I had to talk to the mother. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You talked to the mother of the convent.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Well, she was very pleasant. Said we have to pray a lot, and I said, "Oh, I have been." And I need God to answer my prayers on this one. And she said, "I'll see what I can do." So she called the mother house, and we were able to obtain another nun. And so that's the story of Wayside School. And then as thing moved on, I think we're down to maybe 700 now. The school, it was a very good school. Not because I was involved, but because we had a good teaching staff. We had a lot of the teachers were members of the parish, and their husbands were not subject to transfer. So we had a lot of stability within the faculty. And then you could only give, downtown would only say you could give teachers a 1-year contract at a time. So we lost when I had the wonderful experience of being the gentleman who had to find somebody to take over after the nuns went back. And it was a very interesting time.
Yeah.
So
how was the process of building the middle school? Were you a part of that?
no, I wasn't.
Okay, that was after you were not on the school.
The middle
board.
school came before the church because when he had the middle school created, he arranged it so that the basement was a large space, and that's where Sunday maps were set.
Right.
In the beginning, they would rent a middle school down here,
Oh yeah, across the street, south.
South.
South, right? Yeah.
and that's where Sunday mass would be held
But
before the church was finished.
Did they build a middle school like in '68? I think it might have been, or '70. I have to go back and check the.
I really don't.
Okay.
I don't remember that at all.
Talk a little bit. I mean, I always say that what makes a church is the people, and the spirit of the people. Talk about the spirit of the people back in those days.
They were very willing people, and they believed in the church, and they believed in helping things. Anything that was done around the church was all volunteers. And that's where the Sunshine Boys came in, and that's where We had other organizations. The mothers did a fantastic job of helping. And then we had good teachers. We had stability. And the next thing came along, after Vatican II, the nuns started calling their members back to the mother house, and we were left with a lay principal, and so we had to find a new principal. Mm-hmm. We moved one teacher up to be the principal, and he decided to leave, and his family had some kind of a business. So now we had an opening for a new principal. And the steps to hire somebody, anybody who was going to be hired had to be screened by the school board downtown. And then once they were cleared, they'd put their name on a list, and these are the individuals who are available. Well, we had heard some news that St. Mary's up in Buffalo, which was a very small school at the time, believe it or not, their principal was ready to move on. His name was John Topper. And so we were able to get him and hire him because he wanted a larger school. John was a very unique individual. He had organizational skills. He had people skills. It was a dream to be head of the school board with him running it.
Yeah.
I had no problems whatsoever. Yeah. John took care of everything. Well, we liked him so much. When it came time to renew his contract, there were three of us. I think Joe Foreman was on it, myself, and some of the gentlemen I can't recall. And we talked it over by ourselves. Said, well, we want to keep this gentleman. And so we offered him a 3-year contract. He was stunned. And we told him we had the contract structured so he would get increases every year. So he thought it was a good idea, and we thought it was a good idea. And we signed a contract for 3 years. And when we were signing it, I said, now, I believe in the sanctity of a contract. If you sign it, you're going to be held to it. Are you sure you want to go this long? He says, yep. I said, okay, we're in. So he was running the school beautifully. It just hummed along. And one time I started hearing some rumors that he was thinking about leaving. So there was some function at school. And I stuck my head in one night when we were over there. And I said, John, I hear some rumors. He said, what about them? I said, well, are you going to tell me, or do I have to hear it from other people? He said, oh, not now, Tom. I'll talk to you later. I said, okay. So another time I was over there, and he called me in. He said, I want to talk to you. I said, I think you should. He said, I'm going to leave. I said, you can't leave. We've got a 3-year contract. He said, well, he was single at the time. He said, I think I have a delayed vocation. I want to go to the seminary and become a priest. All I said was, God wins. I said, go. God love you. Yeah. He became a Franciscan friar.
Well, if you're gonna lose a great principal, if you lose them to the Lord, it's okay.
You betcha.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great story. What a great story. This is the stuff that I just love. I love hearing about how our church came along and how it developed and who the characters were back in the day.
There were a lot of characters.
And also the spirit of the parish is very important to me. I mean, obviously a lot of time has gone by, and I mean, when you drive by or the parish, or you're driven by now the parish, and you see the buildings, and you know what it took to put those buildings there. You were part of the foundation of the parish. I mean, what goes through your mind when you pass Wayside today?
I'm in awe. The campus is huge. But the most thing is when Father O'Hare left us, it was all paid for. We didn't have a big debt. It was all done.
Yeah.
And the last thing he did for us, the interior of the church wasn't finished. So he donated that with his own money. Where the money came from, I don't know what it was, inheritance from his parents. I never knew that story.
Yeah.
But, and he, I don't know if there's anyone that, I don't know who designed the marble. He liked marble. And who designed the marble on the sanctuary. And then the church was closed for a couple of weeks, and you walk in and here's this beautiful interior. And of course we had, like in the pre-Vatican days, or pre-Vatican II days, the priest always had his back to the congregation. So then we have to pay to have this beautiful altar taken apart and turn it around so he could face the altar, face the congregation. And those were all the little things that came along.
Yeah.
Now, Father O'Hare was a very demanding person. And he went through associate pastors. Like he had there's a little reputation out there floating around that if you went to Wayside, you're going to work your rear end off. And so a lot of people sidestep that. But we had some wonderful associate pastors.
Do you remember the names of any?
O'Donnell was one.
Yeah.
I really can't recall anybody
There
right
there
now.
were a few Irish names that came.
Oh, yeah, always.
O'Hara, O'Donnell. Yeah. That's great. So there were early ministries in the parish. I mean, I think the Sacred Heart Society was the men's group. Were you part of that?
No.
Okay. And then there was a woman's group.
Oh, there was the woman's group, and generally the men had the Holy Name Society.
That's it. Yeah. And I got the feeling, looking at the history, that those two groups did the lion's share of the lifting to build the parish.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe talk about that a little bit. Do you have any recollection of some of the events they had to raise money, or the things they did, the size of the ministry?
I can't recall how large the groups were. I know that there are about a nucleus about 200 people who were the doers, and what you find in many organizations, there are those that participate, and there's that don't. They ride along. And we had a lot of doers and willing doers. And if you weren't willing, Father O'Hare would put the arm on you, and you would do it.
That's great.
And
Okay, so I'm just gonna see what else we have there. Memories. So I guess looking back, you talked about just feeling awe when you see the campus. Do you have a favorite memory from Wayside and all the time you've been with Wayside?
yes, some were good and some were pleasant. When when Vatican II came along and they were changing everything, well, you'd go to church a few minutes early, and they would teach you the new songs that were going to be sung with that mass. And there was one time we were there, and we practiced the songs, and then during mass, no one would sing it because we didn't have a piece of paper with the words on it or anything. And Father O'Hare turned around and said, "I said sing," and his face got red right in the middle of mass. And then a few people understood what he was doing and had some knowledge of the songs. That's just one little thing that came up. One of many little things that came up.
That's a great memory. Anything else?
I remember some of the later associates, Dr. Frank Jenks, who's now deceased. He sort of spearheaded the homeschool group, or the
CCD.
I really don't recall.
Okay.
You have to excuse me because
That's okay.
I lost half my brain.
You're still dangerous, Tom.
I don't know.
Yeah, so there was CCD. Did they have a program for?
Oh yes, they had CCD program, and again it was run by members of the parish. It was a very large program.
Yeah.
And
CCDs. Were you part of CFM?
no, we weren't.
Okay. So you were on the school board. That was one of your primary. You were a sunshine boy, troublemaker. Did you participate on any other ministries? Finish. We'll take a break. You can just toss that on the floor. Toss it down. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Were you part of any other ministries that you remember from the days?
No, I can't.
Okay. Okay.
Occasionally, I work on the finance board,
Okay.
and there are generally 3 gentlemen on that. One of the other things that happened early on, we started having a sports night, and at that time, all of the baseball players and hockey players and everybody else, football players, after the season was over, they had a second job that their club had sort of set them up with. And some of our members of the parish were salespeople, and they'd put the hand on these guys and said, "Come on out. All you have to do is show up and say a few words, and we'll buy you a dinner, and it won't be a chicken dinner."
Yeah.
And that was really a big thing. I was a father of 4 daughters. I wouldn't go by myself because the boys weren't invited. And my dear wife, Barbara, said that isn't right. So she went to bed. I don't know how she did it. But the next year, girls were allowed to come in. And one of the years, it was right after one of the Cubs baseball kids made it to the Hall of Fame, and we were there that night. He came in after. We made it to the All-Star, I don't know which. But those were very pleasant evenings.
Yeah.
And it was great for the children, too. And at Christmas time, we always had a Christmas recital. And we didn't have a music teacher per se, but one of the mothers volunteered. and would teach the children a little music, and they'd sing songs and so on. And that filled the gym every night.
Yeah.
There were so many things going on.
Were you part of the choir?
No, I was not.
An Irish guy that doesn't sing, huh?
Well, I sang, but I wasn't very good.
Me too.
I couldn't make the cut.
Me neither. Me neither. So I guess maybe we'll kind of wrap it up. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Let me look at my notes here.
Okay. Make sure we're still cooking here. We are. Okay.
I can't even read my own writing.
Me too. That's why I typed mine. We're wrapping it up. I have one more question for him. Oh, great. Perfect. That's cute.
Yeah.
That's really good. We'll use those. Okay, so I'm gonna. This is not the question yet. I just want you to think about it for a second, so I don't catch you. But if you have a hope for Our Lady of the Wayside, for the future of Our Lady of the Wayside, what is your hope for the future of our parish?
That it continues to be cohesive, and that the people would still volunteer. I mean, when you look at our bulletin this morning and look on the right-hand side, all the different organizations and the things that our payroll is getting pretty big. And
Take your time. I mean, you've built this beautiful parish. You were part of its foundation. You saw the effort it took, the amount of doers, willing doers it took. And people in those days went to church and believed, and they filled our school with children. You know, I just wonder, you know, as a guy that was part of the early days that put it all on the line, you know, what would you like to see 70 years from now? From heaven. But 70 years from now, where would you like our parish to be?
about in the same place or better. They're going to have to adapt to Vatican II and go from there.
Yeah.
I do believe there's going to be a problem because we're running out of priests and we don't get the vocations. And that's one thing that bothered me was everybody knew Father O'Hare. He went in that classroom and taught religion. And they'd see him on they would have a school mass sometimes. And then on Sundays, if they went to church, they would see him. They knew what a priest was. I mean, how are we going to get vocation if the young men don't know what a priest is? Now, I'm a little partial because my brother's a priest. Teaches seminary down in St. Louis. But, and then somewhere along the line, altar boys were dropped. I don't know if this was an edict from Rome or the cardinal or what, but I think that should be renewed. I really don't know how the parish is going to handle the lack of priests, but I think we're on a good footing right now with the deacon program. I think it helps an awful lot.
Yeah. What would be your thought for parishioners or people that are part of the parish? I mean, what
They would participate. That means coming to Mass, sending their children, if they can afford it, to our school, keeping our school open because many Catholic schools are going to be closed. One of the reasons we came to Arlington because we had St. Viator's High School and we had Sacred Heart. Well, St. Viator's, I was prejudiced to them because they taught me when I was growing up in Springfield, Illinois. And this was the only physical facility they owned. What the Viators would do, they would staff. For example, in Springfield, the diocese provided the programs, and the Viatorian priests and brothers would staff it. And so here we had a wonderful parish, Catholic high schools, because the closest Catholic high school was Mundelein.
Yeah.
That's quite a trip if you're making it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. The infrastructure supported families.
Yes, it was all about families.
Yeah. Maybe I'm going to back up a little bit. Just families. I mean, the parish back in the early days, in the '60s, into the '70s, kind of was a nucleus for families.
Yes.
It was the center of friendship. It was the center of camaraderie. It's where you came. And today we have so many distractions.
Yes.
You know, it's hard. The church has become something else. What would you like to see happen there?
I would like to see it go back the old way. But I don't think you can do that.
No, I don't think so.
But I remember I came up here to go to school, and you talk to people, and they said, "What parish are you from?" Or "What parish are you from?" And that's the way it went. And there was that divide between ethnic groups. You had an area for that Polish people congregated to. You had an area where the south side, you had the Irish, and throughout the city.
Yeah.
But it was quite a homogenous group. I know out here, we had a lot of Chicago people just move out here to get in the suburbs, what they could afford. Believe it or not, the first house I had here, I bought here in Arlington Heights was for $24,000.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't believe it now. Now you can't even get a car for 24 grand.
It's true. It's true.
It's become more affluent.
Yeah.
But I just hope it stays the same as far as Christianity is concerned. There's been a small drop-off in Sunday Mass. I don't know how the CCD program is going. Once my last child graduated from Wayside, then I didn't volunteer for so many things. By that time, the school, everything had been, we had the gym, the classrooms around the gym. We had what was the grade school. The last thing that was built was the rectory.
Mm-hmm.
Father O'Hare had priorities. It was a school, and the school being such that he could have Mass there on Sunday before we had a church. The next thing was the convent he wanted to take good care of the sisters, and he did. And then, but the rectory came last.
Yeah. Yeah, when Father O'Hara started, he was living in a shack,
Yes,
a little shack.
that's what they tell me. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was over by the time I got here.
He had the guys, he put the arm on the guys and said, come on, we got to fix the shack up into a place I can live in. And they made it inhabitable. And I guess it had a porch. And they would teach kids before it was even really a parish on the porch. The nuns would then go into the homes and teach the kids.
Oh,
Yeah, back in those early days, until we had a campus that we built today. Good. Well, I think that was a lot of ground we covered there, Tom. I appreciate your memories.
well, there's more to. I hope I can remember more.
Well, if you do, we'll do it again. I'm happy to come back anytime. I really want to leave a legacy for Wayside. I mean, we're wrapping up Celebrate 70, and it was a lot of fun, and it was great to see people coming out again and being a community again. And
I think it was wonderful.
yeah, thank you. We're very grateful to you and to Joe Foreman and to all the people that built this parish and put so much heart and soul into it. You've given us a legacy, and it's our job to protect it and to grow it and to honor it. That's what my hope is for the future of this parish, that 70 years from now they'll be celebrating 140 years, and it'll be in good shape. We have a lot of work to do to get it back, but I think there's pendulum. I think time.
Well, I think everything swings back and
Right.
forth.
So, in the early days, there was this commitment and these doers and these passionate, faithful people. And I think maybe to some extent we take it for granted today.
Yes.
We go to church and and then we're done. And we don't think about what it took to build this church and how much sweat and equity went into that and money went into that. And money was dear in those days. It wasn't like this was a rich parish, a rich area.
No,
Everybody gave.
it wasn't affluent.
Right. They gave from where it hurt. And
They had to dig deep in their purse.
they did.
And they did.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doers.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. They were doers.
Yeah. That to me is a key word. We are doers, we are disciples, and we are difference makers. And I think you were all three.
Well, I don't know about that. I was a doer.
You were a doer, and you made a difference.
And I helped to make a difference.
Yeah. We all do our part. And if everybody does their part, we have a parish campus that you're proud of, and a parish that you're proud of. And if we don't do our part, then shame on us. Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
But times have changed.
They have.
And the world is so upside down right now. I don't know where it's going to be in another 25 years.
Yeah, me neither. Do you have grandkids?
Yes, I have 4.
4 grandkids. Do you think about them in this world?
Oh, yes, I do. I feel sorry for them.
I have 1.
Well, I have 4 great-grandkids.
That's awesome.
And you wonder what's going to be around for them.
What's your advice to parents today?
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It was easy for us because we didn't have all the intrusions from outside into the home. I think television is pretty well taking care of that.
What is taking care of it?
Television,
Oh, television.
intrusion in the home.
Yeah.
I mean, this area here where we live was a little Catholic enclave. You could start up the line here with Dady's, and then we had Boston's, or La Perry's, and then ourselves, and Pusateri's. I mean, and all of us had big families. And I don't think that'll ever be repeated.
Yeah. You know, my parents used to say to me, they felt sorry for my generation because they could see things changing. And as a kid, I would say, "Oh, Dad, no, it's fine. We're fine. Look at us. We're growing up. We're okay." And then I become my father, and now I have my grandchildren, and my daughters, my kids, and I tell them the same thing that my dad was telling me.
Well, the other thing was we didn't have the drug situation. We didn't have the television intrusion, and we didn't have the drug situation. And it was out here. There are a lot of people who want to deny that, but that's wrong.
Yeah. The internet.
And you have the internet.
Yeah.
And it's difficult being a parent today.
Commitment.
Com-
And what's the key to success for a parent today?
I really have to dwell on that one.
Yeah. Well, that'll be for our next interview then.
You're going to hook me again, huh?
Anytime you want. Anytime you have something to talk about, Tom, we'll come back.
Okay.
You're right around the corner. So this is fun, and it's easy, and it's interesting. It's all good. So
It's a little history.
yeah, it's a lot of history. It's good history.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That was really fun. I enjoyed every minute of that. I felt like 60 minutes. That was really great. I'm going to get the microphone from you in a second. Okay, ladies.
Okay.
Hollywood is finished.
Ah,
What a good interview. That was fun.
great interview.
You did great, Tom.